On the 28th day of January 1948, a plane took off from San Jose, California, bound for El Centro, California. It was a plane that was chartered by the Immigration and Naturalization Service. And on board, in addition to a crew of 3, was an INS agent and 28 Mexican nationals, all of whom were in this country legally under the Bracero program. Their work visas had expired and they were being sent to El Centro, to a camp to be processed for deportation back into Mexico, and inevitably signing up for the Bracero program and beginning that entire cycle all over again. Shortly after takeoff, the left engine developed a problem, and the plane went down in the Los Gatos Creek Canyon, about an hour west of Fresno, and all on board were lost. The following morning, the New York Times reported the crash, noting the name, age, and hometowns of the crew and the INS agent. And in this article, you can still find online. It said also on board were 28 Mexican agricultural workers set for deportation. And one of the many hundreds of thousands of people who read that article on the morning of January 29th, 1948, was Woody Guthrie. And he sat down and he penned what many people say is his last great song. I recorded the song on the album I did in honor of Woody's 100th birthday. And I realized that as I was touring with the album, I was going to be playing in Fresno, California on the 65th anniversary of that crash. And so I decided to do a little more research so I could be informative at the concert in Fresno, because it was the nearest town to the crash site. And in doing that research, I discovered that those 28 people were buried in a mass grave at the Holy Cross Cemetery in Fresno. So I told my roadie that day, I said, we're going to get to Fresno a little early. And we went to the Holy Cross Cemetery, which had been closed since 1967 for overcrowding. And as we stood looking upon these acres of markers, my roadie asked the obvious question. He said, how in the world are we ever going to find this grave? And it came to me. I said, well, you look for a place where there might be 28 bodies buried and only one headstone. And it was easy to find. And as I stood there praying over that grave, it occurred to me, wait a minute, all these people had work visas. Why have they been anonymous all these years? So anonymous that Woody Guthrie wrote a song about them being anonymous. It turns out 2 other people were thinking the exact same thing about the same time. A young man named Carlos Rascon, who had recently been put in charge of this closed cemetery by the Archdiocese of Fresno, saw this big expanse and said, who's here? What's the story with this? And another young man who grew up in the valley named Tim Hernandez. And they both were looking for those names, and we all 3 simultaneously came upon those names. And on Labor Day the following year, thanks to the generosity of people from across this country, some of whom are in this audience tonight, they had a great celebration and unveiled a gravestone over those graves, finally giving those people their names and a proper Christian burial. Now, this is not a story about a good deed. No, this is a story about never forgetting that the small things we do in this life matter. And that a song kept this story alive for 6.5 decades. Till 3 people who were not even born when it was written discovered the secret that was there all along. Oh, the crops are all in, peaches are rotting, the oranges piled high in the creosote dumps, flying us back to the Mexican border to take all our money, swim back again. My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money made in his life. My brothers and sisters all work in the fruit trees, rode in that truck till they took down and died. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. Won't have a name when you ride that big airplane, all they will call you will be Deportee.
Ramon Paredes, Jesus Santos, Jose Sanchez, Miguel Alvarez, Guadalupe Ramirez, Baldomero Torres, Jose Macias.
Oh, some of us are illegal, and others not wanted. Our work contract's out, we have to move on. 600 miles to the Mexican border, they chase us like outlaws, like rustlers, like thieves. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. Won't have a name when you ride that big airplane, and all they will call you Deportee.
Martin Navarro, Apolonio Plasencia, Santiago Elizondo, Salvador Hernandez, Tomasa Garcia, Francisco Duran, Rosalio Estrado.
Oh, the sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. A fireball of lightning shook all our hills. Who are these friends all scattered like dry leaves? Radio says they are just deportees. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride that big airplane, all they will call you Deportees.
Bernabe Garcia, Severo Lara, Elias Macias, Tomas Marquez, Luis Medina, Manuel Marino, Luis Miranda.
We died in your hills, died in your deserts, died in your valley, died on your plains. Died neath the trees, and we died in the bushes, both sides of the river. We died just the same. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. Won't have a name when you ride that big airplane, all they will call you Ortiz.
Ignacio Navarro, Roman Ochoa, Alberto Regoza, Guadalupe Rodriguez, Maria Rodriguez, Juan Ruiz, Wenceslao Ruiz.
Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos Jesus y Maria. Won't have a name when you ride that big airplane. All they will call you